כי אדם שחקי על החלומות, זו אני החולם שר, שחקי כי בא האדמה מין, כי עודני מאמין בה, שחקי כי
Bruchim Habaim, and welcome everybody. Hope everybody is enjoying a sweet new year. I want to welcome everyone, both in the room and from screens all over, to our Yom Kippur services, starting with Kol Nidrei tonight. As we prepare to begin our services, I'd like to invite up Joy Cooper to lead us in a prayer before I pray by Rabbi Harold Schulweiss, a meditation centering our hearts and intentions as we enter into this Kol Nidrei evening.
A prayer before I pray. Before I open the prayer book or embrace myself in a talit prayer shawl and give praise or thanksgiving or petition, it all begins with me. I cannot petition God without petitioning myself. I cannot pray for health or peace or love without involving myself, my heart, my thought, my spine. I cannot pray God for peace while my arms are folded, my mouth sealed, my feet dragging. I cannot pray, God heal us, and turn my head from my or our obligation to ensure the health of the blind, the lame, the lacerated. I cannot pray to God of creation and treat nature with callousness, accept the toxification of its waters, forests, and air. I cannot pray God's love and ignore the vilification and exploitation of his children, the stranger, the pariah, the immigrant, the outcast in our midst. I cannot pray God's love of my people and remain mute before the ganging up on the Jewish people and the attempts to vitiate the life of the Jewish state. Prayer is not one-sided, not vertical, God up there and we down here. I am covenanted with God side by side, not as a passive beggar, but as a co-creator, co-responsible collaborator with godliness. Therefore, before every petition, I close my eyes and add 2 words before the yearning petitions of my heart: through me. God help through me those caught in the whirlwinds, earthquakes, floods, volcanoes, pestilence of the world. God protect through me those thrashing about in a blood-soaked universe. God bring peace through me to a world torn by mounting genocides, mass murders, and rape. The godliness in me and through me reaches out to the godliness in others. In prayer, I am reminded that God is lived through me in loving, healing, helping, comforting, consoling, protecting, protesting, wiping away the tears of the afflicted, soothing their pains, binding their wounds, and strengthening their bent spine. Through me, through my people, through humanity, I am prepared in prayer to praise, appreciation, and petition God who opens the path to life's meaning.
Thank you so much, Yesher Kochech. And if you look around the room, you'll notice something a little different tonight, which is that tonight of all the nights in the Jewish calendar is the one night when we don our talit, those of us who wear talit. And we have actually extra talitot, extra prayer shawls in the lobby if you want to try one on. If you ever haven't done that before, this is a great time to start. And if you haven't said the blessing already, we can say together, blessing God for the mitzvah of donning the talit. We say, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kiddishanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Lehit Atef B'tzitzit. Amen. Thank you, God, who commands us to wrap ourselves in the fringes. And as we wear our talit, we can imagine being enveloped in God's love for each of us. Tonight, with our liturgy, we unite worlds. We unite the upper realm and the lower realm. We unite those who have sinned with those who are righteous. We unite humans with the divine. We unite those of us who are on this earthly world with those of us who crossed beyond that boundary. The spirit of tonight and of all of Yom Kippur is that of atonement, which you can read in English as at-one-ment, because it's about unifying ourselves, including everyone, embracing everyone, giving everyone a space to be in communion with each other and with God. Tonight is about the dissolution of barricades and about committing oneself to the wholeness of the universe so that our world can be just a little more whole and pure. Our Yom Kippur services, beginning tonight through the next 24 hours, culminate in the declaration of God's oneness of the Shema. And so throughout the next 24 hours, we orient ourselves to be worthy of that moment when we say, you are one and we are one. We're going to now invite our Torah procession to come forward as we turn to page 204 and rise if we're able as the ark is opened.
Shiva shel mala u'shiva shel mata al dat hamakom ve'al dat hakal anu matirin להתפלל עם עבריינים בשיבה של מעלה ובשיבה של מטה על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל אנו מתירים להתפלל עם עבריינים בשיבה של מעלה ובשיבה של מטה על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל אנו מתירים להתפלל עם עבריינים.
Continue on page 205, welcoming up our singers.
וכינוסי ושבועות דין דרנה ותשתבנה ותאחרינה ודאחרימנה ודסנה על נפשתנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כולון יחרתנה בהון כולון יהון שרן שוויקין שוויתין ותהילין ותהילין לשרים ולא קיימין. נדרנה לה נדרי ושרנה לה שרי ושבועתנה לשבות. Kol Nidrei Services, Atonement, Atonement, Vechinuyei, Vechinusei, Ushavot. Din darna udishtabana uteacharimna vedasana al nafshatana miyom kippurim zeh ad yom kippurim avaleinu letova kulhon icharatna behon kolhon Yehon sheran shevitin vetenin mutalin lashelin velakayamin nidrana la nidrei vesarana ushvuatana lashevot. Kol Nidrei Services, Atonement, Atonement, Vechinuyei, Vechinusei, Ushavot. Uteishtabana ודרחרימנה ודסנה על נפשתנה דינדרנה ותשתבנה ודסנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כולון יחרטנה בהון יהון שרן יהון שרן שביטין ותהלין ומוטלין לשרין ולקיימין נדרנה לנדרי שבועתנה לשבועות.
We continue on page 205 with Vanislach.
ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. סלח נא לעוונם הזה כגודל חסדך, וכאשר נשאת להם הזה ממצרים וירדנה, ושם שנאמר, ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
You may be seated. At this time, we'll hear a few words from Mindy Albuck.
Imagine it is 1973 and a quiet girl with two pigtails wearing an orange and gold check jumper and brown tights visits Temple Emmanuel in Lawrence, Massachusetts with her Israeli father and Bronx-born mother. The room smelled a bit like mold and the desk was cold green metal. There were many questions and the girl's father answered them all while she gazed off into the empty room and wondered, what would it be like here, she thought. Would she like it? It was me, of course. I did like it. I was a hardworking student. I learned the alphabet fast, attended Monday and Wednesday for Hebrew and Sunday AM for Bible study. I made friends, but I also started to notice they all attended the same prestigious Andover Elementary School. And I lived in Tewksbury. It didn't matter to me, but it did seem to matter to them. Many years later, I realized it was probably more that it was important to their parents. They had carpools, barbecues, country club memberships, and lived only a few streets apart. I had a bat mitzvah there, Haftorah only, of course, but somehow I never really belonged there. I wasn't part. In 1980, an even quieter girl was introduced to Mr. Kidd's homeroom class on a random November day in Parsippany, New Jersey. That girl muddled through the year, only meeting her first friend, Ellen Wolf, by the spring. Ellen decided we should go to a BBG meeting, proclaiming, "We can meet Jewish boys from AZA." Wow, was my mother happy about this. "You'll meet nice Jewish kids," she said. So I figured it would be good to go because I missed Temple Emmanuel, ironically. But it wasn't what I expected. I didn't feel right. I felt out of place, and I never went back. I don't recall what exactly the problem was, but I knew I wasn't part. For the next 2 decades, all my synagogue visits were as a guest. I tagged along with my aunt and uncle to their Reform shul. I went with friends' families to their synagogues. It was all very random. College, grad school, career, husband, home purchase, 2 babies, wow, time marched on so quickly. That shy girl was very far in my past. My Jewishness was a dim light, barely visible at the end of a long corridor, but still burned bright in my memory. I volunteered when my boys went to Edgewood Elementary, but never found friends there. Same thing as before, just a different decade. The parents were friends, they went to dinner together, they played golf together, they sat on the soccer field and were as friendly as could be. But guess what? I think you know the theme by now. I wasn't part. I kept thinking, where have I landed? What is this crazy town called Yardley that seemed so provincial? Then it was almost like a bell went off in my mind. It was time for my son Aaron to attend religious school. Since the first time I remember entering a synagogue was for Hebrew school, I repeated the same timing. We searched and explored ideas, Lubavitch, Jeremy, brothers. We joined Bethel simply because it was conservative, down the street, and seemed homey. I always say that I had no idea by joining a synagogue we would have a whole Jewish life. My husband, Rick, quickly talked to everyone. He soon became men's club president. We met everyone in the entire shul, or so it seemed. Anytime Rick saw someone he didn't know, he introduced us. We had super fun Saturday nights out with Bethelers. We made 2, 3, 4 trips over to Bethel a week. I joined school board. There were chicken dinners to be made, and there were meetings to attend. My boys grew older. My oldest, Aaron, made close friends, went off to Ramah, had his bar mitzvah here, and then became active in USY all through Bethel. My younger son, Harris, followed nearly every move, always having Aaron's blueprints for what to do next. Bethel was an accident for me and my family. But guess what? Now I was part. I can't stress enough how shocking this was for me. I felt strongly it was time to give back. We coached the boys to help the religious school on random days when they had off, to be counselors at Ramah, and help make USY fun for the next round of kids. Now we are empty nesters, and I joined the board, and here I am with you all. I love it here. My heart is with you. I may have caught on late, but I caught on with a vengeance. So ask yourself, are you part? Are you Bethel busy? Do you enjoy being here? If you are, then support this appeal. You may take this place for granted or even feel you spend enough, but we are in this together now more than ever before. Or do you want to be part? Well, you know I'm going to tell you that we have ways to answer and solve for that. Liz talked about this in her Rosh Hashanah speech. Another way to be part is support this appeal. Or are you saying to yourself, I'm not a part? Listen, I'm not going to ask you to admit it out loud, just to yourself. If so, then support. When we invest in something, you know we are inherently inclined to become part of it. This could be your first step, or your step to reignite the light inside of yourself, or just a way to give back for years prior. Most of all, just be a change maker. We all need to be part of something, and I promise you, this place is worthy of that. A Yom Kippur appeal card was mailed to you, and it looks like this. All you have to do is fold down one or more of these slots at top, slip it in the envelope, mail it back. Or you can bring it over to Bethel at any time. After today, it doesn't matter. Next week, whenever, is good for you. Please, just when you do it, give from your heart and think about the difference that it can make. Thank you so much. Have an easy fast. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, Yashar Kolchech, Mindy, on those very beautiful words. If you've ever studied acting or even participated in one of those team building workshops, you might very well be familiar with an exercise called a trust fall. The exercise involves two partners. You fall backwards, keeping your feet anchored on the ground, and then your partner has to catch you as you fall. This activity literalizes the way we must rely upon others around us. In releasing, we become stronger as a team. We have to let go of the belief that we can control all outcomes. We have to lean into our vulnerability and trust that others will be there to catch us. Releasing is actually a major reason why we're here tonight. We're here to recite that repetitive formulaic prayer that is Kol Nidrei, which is about what? It's about releasing us from the commitments that we're going to make in the coming year that we cannot uphold. It is with this release that we grow strong, not only as individuals, but as a community at the beginning of our year. We can imagine Kol Nidrei as a kind of falling forward exercise. What does it mean to say communally that despite our best efforts, we know we're going to miss the mark this coming year? And it is indeed an act of profound trust and a fundamental acknowledgement of universal forces far larger than any one of us. What elements in our world might take an unanticipated turn this coming year? How can we adjust our lives? Who will be there to catch us when we fall? And what can we do to catch the person next to us? This new year, 5782, is an especially auspicious time for release and trusting in ourselves, each other, and the divine. This year is what's called in Hebrew the Shnat Shemitah, the Shemitah year, and Shemitah literally means release. Every 7 years, the Torah instructs us to let the land lay fallow, allowing those in need to come and glean from it and eat, and allowing the earth to rest and to regenerate. The practice of Shemitah is actually still followed in Israel to this day in certain Orthodox circles. Instead of working the land, the Torah requires that farmers let go and subsist over whatever grew naturally and then store the surplus. The 7-year Shemitah cycle, as detailed in the Torah, also marks the release of all outstanding debts and the release of Hebrew slaves. During the Shemitah year, in other words, we release and forgive all monetary debts. We release our brethren from bondage. We release farmers from their grueling physical toil. And we even release the land from having to produce according to our will. The framing of the mitzvah of Shemitah in the Torah signals something special and unusual about this mitzvah. The Torah emphasizes that the laws of Shemitah were actually issued on Mount Sinai. Sifra, an old collection of rabbinic commentaries on the book of Leviticus, explicitly asks why Shemitah, of all the commandments, is the one mentioned in conjunction with Mount Sinai. The question posed sounds almost like one of those contemporary observational comedy openers. What's the deal with Shemitah and Har Sinai? Sifra concludes that if even Shemitah, which happens only 7 years, is connected to Mount Sinai, all the more so all the other mitzvot are so important in this way and carry this same weighty association with the revelation at Sinai. But I would argue Shemitah is not simply functioning as the anchor of an a fortiori argument here. There is a near Eden-like quality to the reality that Shemitah affords us in allowing us to promote social and economic equality. We can imagine a world far more perfect than the one we currently inhabit, and that is the one we are commanded to create in the year of Shemitah. Shemitah, both in the ancient world and now, represents a radical break with the expected rhythms of life. Seemingly paradoxically, we refrain from working the land so that it can regenerate, much like a more familiar cycle of seven, the 7-day week culminating in Shabbat. Shemitah, the 7th year in a 7-year cycle, serves as a time for us to claim sacred time and trust in God, to allow nature to take care of itself and each other, and trust in each other to liberate each other from the shackles of slavery and potentially bottomless pits of debt, of social crisis which persists globally to this day. What a profound act of trust it must have required on the part of our ancestors who lived in an agrarian society to suspend actively working on their central source of livelihood. Thanks to more recent findings in environmental science, we now actually know that letting the land rest has practical, tangible benefits. Shemitah promotes carbon sequestration, which allows the soil to collect and absorb more carbon, making the soil stronger, more resilient, and productive in the years that will follow, and also releasing fewer emissions into the air. But in all likelihood, our ancestors were not aware of these benefits. To observe Shemitah required a leap of faith on their part. And today, we inhabit a cult of productivity. Your value comes from your work, and it's killing us. A global study released this year by the World Health Organization in partnership with the International Labor Organization found that 750,000 people are dying from coronary disease and heart disease and stroke due to overworking. Observing Shabbat can be an important antidote to our culture's relentless push for productivity. Instituting a regular Shabbat can potentially even improve our health and longevity. About 15 years ago, National Geographic shared the research of scientists who traveled globally to unearth the secrets of communities with higher rates of centenarians, better health, and more overall years of healthy living. And they found a group of Seventh-day Adventists who lived in California, and they averaged 10 years more than other Californians. The Seventh-day Adventists credited the Sabbath as the key to their relative health and longevity, citing a break from secular activity and work as the reason for their comparatively excellent health. Relatedly, Designated periods such as Shemitah and Shabbat are also important antidotes to our overly consumerist culture. US household consumption accounts for more than 1/4 of global household spending. With our GDP of over $22 trillion, we comprise the greatest consumer market on this planet. If everyone consumed the way we do in our country, we would need over 4 Earths. Especially with the explosion of virtual platforms at our disposal, the average American is subject to over 3,000 ads a day, goading us on to buy even more. As Jenny Odell, the author of The Art of Doing Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy, writes, it's about having the best, most alive parts of ourselves paved over by a ruthless logic of use. Our consumerist tendencies come at a serious price. In the last 30 years, 1/3 of the Earth's natural resources have been destroyed in the service of providing more for us to consume, and our consumption has taken a serious, tangible toll on the earth we breathe and the water that we drink. Our country leads the world in trash output, with each person generating about 6 pounds of garbage a day. Plainly put, we overproduce and are working ourselves to death, and we overconsume and are working the planet to death. So our Jewish tradition steps in and can help us navigate these formidable challenges. We are blessed that Shemitah and Shabbat ask us 3 countercultural questions. Number 1, what is enough? Number 2, what do I owe my neighbor? And number 3, what does it mean to rest? Let's start with the first, what is enough? Our Torah teaches us, bal tashchit, not to waste. We're repeatedly reminded that both the land we inhabit is a special gift from God and ours to protect. The Torah commands us to bless God when we eat and are satisfied. The rabbis pondered, what is the minimum one should eat that would require us to recite a blessing? Amazingly, they conclude that eating even the amount equivalent to an egg or an olive merits the recitation of grace after meals. And so the message is clear. What we are to understand from satisfied doesn't translate into excess quantity. It means having enough to give us nourishment. So the rabbis are asking us to inhabit a mindset of enough, recognizing that what we need and also recognizing what we could do without. Both Shemitah and Shabbat offer us an opportunity to step back and ask these questions in order to spiritually and even materially to step forward. Over the years, people, both Jewish and non-Jewish alike, have asked me why I observe Shabbat the way I do. Because from the outside, my Shabbat observance looks awfully like a heaping pile of thou shalt nots. Our family doesn't turn on or off or manipulate electronic devices on Shabbat. We don't drive. We do not write. We do not bake. We do not cook. You get the picture. So my answer? Every perceived no is in the service of a greater yes. The yes of quality time with family, the yes of beautiful singing, the yes of delicious meals already prepared, the yes of that elusive time for leisure eating, the yes of the soft glow of the candles. The list goes on and on and on. Our lifestyle on Shabbat might seem rather restrictive, but you cannot imagine the joy and meaning it consistently creates. The next question, what do I owe my neighbor? Let's talk about another greater yes, the way both Shemitah and Shabbat seek to fix inequality and move us beyond mere charity. Shemitah and Shabbat urge us to get over ourselves and enter a communal mindset where it is Shabbat for none if it is not Shabbat for all. Our Torah explicitly commands us to share Shabbat with our entire household, everyone in our circles. Likewise, Shemitah anticipates the devastating effects of perpetual debt bondage and ensures that all debts are eventually forgiven and that farmers offer access to the crops of their fields to those most desperately in need. The Torah explicitly forbids withholding loans to someone in need just because the year of Shemitah is drawing close. Rather, we are commanded to extend our hand joyfully. If you were wondering if and how Shemitah was observed during biblical times, like how did they actually do this? We have a sobering clue coming to us from the book of Jeremiah, in which the prophet laments our people's failure to observe Shemitah and cites this as the reason the first temple was destroyed in 586 BCE. Similarly, in Ethics of the Fathers, our sages caution that we will suffer exile on account of 4 types of misdeeds: idolatry, sexual immorality, murder, and failure to observe Shemitah. Why is Shemitah considered so central to our secure destiny as a people? Because it encompasses all the key ingredients of a secure community. We provide for each other, we nourish each other, we forgive each other, and we allow the land to nourish itself for our sake and for the sake of our children. The implications both from Jeremiah and from our sages is clear. If we cannot practice kindness to the land, we risk ceding the land. If we cannot prioritize our neighbor, we lose our community. If we cannot commit to the ideals of Shemitah, then who are we? What a powerful reminder to us today that Judaism understands communal responsibility as far outweighing the supposed benefits of individual liberties. Loving your neighbor as yourself is not a mere platitude, nor is it an abstract ideal. It is a way of life in which we understand that our neighbor's well-being is inseparably bound up with our own. If we want to have enough and keep having enough, we have to make sure everyone has enough. The key ingredient to living this way is trust. Can we treat others in a way we hope others would treat us if our fates were reversed? And if we make this leap of trust and of faith, relying upon each other and God, we can release our vows, we can release our land, we can release our debts, and we can release ourselves from overwork and overconsumption. When we read about Shemitah in the Torah, we keep seeing the Hebrew words lavetach, bitachon. These are words for security or trust. And on a simple level, God is assuring the Israelites that if they keep this very difficult agricultural and economic practice, there will still be security. But it's so much deeper than that. In observing this mitzvah, we create and we embody the value of material and spiritual security for those around us, and therefore also for ourselves. When those in front of us fall, we are there to catch them. And when we fall, they are there to catch us. In releasing, we become stronger as a community. In releasing, we become stronger as a people. And in releasing, we become stronger as a planet. Finally, what does it mean to rest? We're afraid of rest. We are afraid of rest. We are in a culture based on rugged competition and individualism that prods us to push harder and harder. But the Torah remembers that we and even the animals and even the land upon which we tread are not machines. We need a break, and so do the animals, and so does the land. Like Shabbat, Shemitah is about surrender. Neither Shabbat nor Shemitah are dependent on your preparation or your readiness. We don't stop because we're finished. We don't stop when we finish all of our calls, all of our emails, all of our text messages, all of our errands. We stop because it's time to stop. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. It's not upon you to finish the task. We're sucked into a black hole of false connection and the explosion of false urgencies. We are addicted to our phones, our tablets, our iPads, our watches, the list goes on. And according to Tristan Harris, a former design ethicist at Google, smartphones are actually engineered to be addictive. Shemitah and Shabbat fortify us with a regular, natural check on the cult of urgency. They offer us a realignment of values and a space to reflect on those values instead of swallowing us up in its tsunami of perceived productivity and progress. As the sun touches the horizon every Friday night, and as we enter into the beginning of a Shemitah year, we jump off the tractor, we put down the phone, we place the pen in the drawer, we power off the computer, we put the mop in the bucket, we park the car in the driveway. We stop knowing there are forces in the universe larger than us that take care of things when we don't. Our stopping allows us to renew, to rejuvenate, and to refresh, and to humbly realize our limitation as humans. Shemitah and Shabbat ask us, are you really nourished working as you do, going as quickly as you're going? Are we resting as deeply as we need to be? And on a deep level, can we let go of the obsession of finishing what can't be finished? Shemitah and Shabbat also offer us a crucial message about planning. This might at first seem like a paradoxical message, but if we're to rest intentionally, we got to plan for it. There's a famous story in our tradition of a man named Choni who saw an old man planting a carob tree, and he looks at him and he says, how long is it going to take for this tree to bear fruit, to grow? And the man says, 70 years. Do you think you're going to live another 70 years? Choni asks. The man replies, just as I found this carob tree, I've also found carob trees in the world grown by my forefathers, so will I plant for my children. One of my friends once summarized a chore as being a future favor you do for yourself. On a macro scale, we can plant literally and figuratively for our future children. Our long-term goals, in other words, don't necessarily involve us, but they will touch the lives of those who survive us. Shemitah and Shabbat help us to enter into a mindset of intentional planning and thinking how our planning might affect others, both now and in the future. How do we actually apply all of this in our lives today, though? With Shabbat, it's easy enough to imagine how we might observe it, but what about Shemitah? As this Shemitah year begins, how might we enact this ancient practice derived from the wisdom and values in the Torah here and today? We can focus on what is enough and live accordingly. We can shop less and live more. We can garden and grow our own food, support our many local farmers here in Bucks County. We can participate in clothes swaps or buy secondhand. We can spend more time basking in the magnificence of our surroundings when we have time to travel. We can even literally open our fields to those around us if we happen to maintain a garden. A few years back, the Philadelphia Farm School, which was a Jewish-operated urban farm, did exactly that. And they did away with all their fences, allowing anyone to enjoy their harvest during the Shemitah period. And whether we grow food or not, we can extend our hands to those in need and our neighbors and release them from a difficult moment. We can give away items we no longer use to those who will put them to good use. We too can forgive debts whenever that is possible. And we can work together towards Shemitah on a national and global scale. We can advocate and organize to end human trafficking, literally modern-day slavery, which is still very much being practiced in this country and around the world. We can support ways to end crippling housing, healthcare, and education debt, and support institutions such as local public libraries and public schools, which offer debt-free opportunities for all to learn and grow. We can welcome strangers, as the Torah repeatedly urges us to do, and help refugees seek a safe haven and start new in our country. We can lend a compassionate ear to someone whose burden is sorrow, and perhaps most urgently at this time, we can work hard to let go of the very harmful feelings of anger that plague our minds and our souls. We can rest, and we can learn to release. We can take time off from work. We can designate special time to refuel one-on-one with our loved ones. We can nourish our bodies and our souls with activities that will clear our minds and rejuvenate our spirits. We can allow this time to help us observe the people and the world around us with heightened attention and compassion. We can help ourselves and others release from the weight of impossible expectations and the ceaseless march of so-called progress. Release is the very foundation of this all-important day of atonement. Without the ability to declare Kol Nidrei as we just did and absolve ourselves of vows, we would be chained eternally to impossible expectations that are incompatible with what it means to be human. This is the spirit of this evening. In our release of our vows, in acknowledging our limitations and the limitations of our striving, a weight is lifted from our souls. We are creatures who need space to grow, to rest, and to improve. And so we will. This is a year of Shemitah. Let's catch each other when we fall. Let's make our ideas actual realities in our lives. And let's take the time to breathe and to reflect. What are you going to do to release this year? And what is that release going to enable you to do, and even more importantly, to be? Gemar Chatima Tova, may we all be inscribed in the book of life and all good things. And we'll continue. We'll continue back in Machzor, transitioning into the Mariv service on page 207, rising if we are able. You may be seated.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המריב הרבים אהבת עולם בית ישראל כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה וברכתך אל תסר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני ברוך שם כבוד מהותו לעולם ועד ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך בכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת ואמונה כל זאת תקיימו. ויוצא אדוני ישראל מתוכם, ומעביר בניו.
Page 210.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובניהם ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בכל Ot Osefele מלכותך ובניך בוקעם לפני משה זה לי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי ודע אדוני את יעקב וגדול מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל.
Page 211.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
No, page 212.
כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם לפני אדוני תטהרו. יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה בעלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יש מרב המבורך לעולם ולעולמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתלש מלכורשה בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן מעלמא איי 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 ואמרו
Continue rising if we're able with the personal Amidah found in your Machzor, pages 213 to 221. We combine the words on the page with the words in our hearts.
עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, ניזכר וניחתם לפניך. אנחנו לכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
We'll continue now in our machzor on page 223 for Ya'aleh.
Ya'aleh תחנוננו מערב ויבוא שאבותינו מי בוקר וירא עינינו עד ערב וירא עינינו עד ערב. יעלה קולנו מערב ויבוא צדקתנו מבוקר וירא פדיוננו עד ערב וירא פדיוננו עד ערב. יעלה אל עינוינו מערב ויבוא סליחתנו מבוקר וירא נחתנו עד ערב וירא נחתנו עד ערב. יעלה מנוחתנו מערב ויבוא למנו בוקר למנו בבוקר וירא כיפורנו עד ערב וירא כיפורנו עד ערב. יעלה ישנו מערב ויבוא תרנו מבוקר וירא חינוננו עד ערב וירא חינוננו עד ערב. יעלה זיכרוננו מערב ויבוא וידודנו מבוקר וירא הדרתנו עד ערב וירא הדרתנו עד הערב יעלה דרכנו מערב ויבוא גילנו מבוקר ויראה בקשתנו עד ערב ויראה בקשת ערב יעלה את נתנו מערב ויבוא אליך מבוקר ויראה אלינו עד ערב ויראה אלינו עד ערב.
Continue on page 225. You may be seated.
הנשמה לך והגוף פולח חוסה על המלאך הנשמה לך והגוף שלך אדוני עשה למען שמך ויהי עתנו על שמך אדוני עשה למען שמך הנשמה לך והגוף פולח חוסה על המלאך הנשמה לך בעבור כבוד שמך כי אל חנון ורחום שמך ויהי למען שמך ואדוני בסלחת לעווננו כי רבו הנשמה לך והגוף פולח חוסה על המלאך הנשמה לך.
Continue on page 226, going into the 13 attributes. Those were originally recited by Moses, interceding on behalf of all the people when God was so angry with us. This is the magic formula that Moses uses to remind God of God's capacity for compassion. Page 226.
אל ערך אפיים אתה ובעל הרחמים נקראת. כי יאמר תעבור על פשע ותמחה שם כיום ויתייצב עמו שם תאזין שבתנו ותקשיב מנו ממר כיום ויקרא בשם אדוני.
We rise if we're able.
ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא אדוני אדוני אל רחום וחנון ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת נוצר חסד לערבים נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו חלטנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחל לנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
You may be seated. We continue on page 227.
כי הנה כך אומר ביד היוצר, ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקצר, כן אנחנו כידך חסד נוצר, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ועל תפן היצר, כי הנה כאבן ביד המסתת, ברצותו חץ וברצותו מחטט, כן אנחנו בידך מחיה ומומתת, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ועל תפן היצר, כי הנה כגרזן ביד החרש, ברצותו דיבק לאור וברצותו פרש, כן אנחנו בידך תומך אני ורש, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ועל תפן היצר, כי הנה כהגה ביד המלאך, ברצותו אוחז וברצותו שילח, כן אנחנו בידך טוב וסלח, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ועל תפן היצר, כי הנה כזכוכית ביד המזגג, ברצותו חוגג וברצותו ממוגג, כן אנחנו בידך מוחז אדון בשגב, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ועל תפן היצר, כי הנה כירייה ביד הרוקם, ברצותו מיישר וברצותו מאגם, כן אנחנו בידך אל קנו ונוקם, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ועל תפן היצר, כי הנה ככסף ביד הצורף, ברצותו משגשג וברצותו מצרף, כן אנחנו בידך ממציא למזור טרף, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ועל תפן ויצר.
We continue on page 229.
אל מלך יושב על כיסא ורחמים, מנהג בחסדיות. אל הורית לנו לומר 13, זכור לנו היום ברית 13, כמו שהודעת לענף מקדם, כמו שכתוב, וירא אדוני בענן, ויתייצב במושב מקרא בשם אדוני.
We rise if we're able.
ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא, אדוני, אדוני, רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נושא חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקר, וסלחת לעווננו חטאנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחל לנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח, ורב חסד ורב חסד לכל קוראיך ורב חסד ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
We continue on page 232.
אל מלך יושב על כיסא רחמים, ינהג בחסידות נכון. אל הורית לנו לומר 13, זכור לנו היום ברית 13, כמו שהודעת לעיניו מקדם, כמו שכתוב בירר אדוני וענן, ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני. ויעבור אדוני על פניו, ויקרא Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Noseh Chesed la'alafim, Noseh Avon v'Pesha, V'Chata וסלחת על עווננו ולחטאתנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחלנו מלכנו כי פשענו. כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח, ברב חסד, ברב חסד, לכל קוראיך, ברב חסד, ברב חסד, לכל קוראיך.
Continue on page 233.
כפר חטאינו ביום הזה ויתרנו, כמה שכתוב, כי ביום הזה יכפר לכם לתאריכם, מחטאותיכם לפני אדוני תתארו, הביאני אל הר קודשך, ושמחני בבית תפילתך, כמה שכתוב, כי ביתי בית תפילה, יקרא לכל העמים.
We rise if we're able as the ark is open.
שמע קולנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חוס ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו.
שמע קולנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חוס ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחם ורצון את תפילתנו.
השיבנו, השיבנו, אדוני אליך, ונשובה, ונשובה, חדש, חדש, ימינו כקדם. השיבנו, השיבנו, אדוני אליך, ונשובה, ונשובה, חדש, חדש, ימינו כקדם. או חדש, אל תשליכנו מפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממנו, אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה, ככלות כוחנו, אל תעזבנו. כי לך אדוני חותנו אתה תענה, אדוני אלוהינו.
You may be seated. We continue on page 234.
אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו, כי אנו עמך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו בניך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו, אנו קהלך ואתה חלקנו, אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו צונך ואתה רוננו, אנו חרמך ואתה נוטרנו, אנו פעולתך ואתה יבוצנו, אנו רעייתך ואתה דודנו, אנו סגולתך ואתה קרובנו, אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו, אנו ממירך ואתה ממירי, איי 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 ואתה רחומך, אנו נענו קשי עורף, ואתה ערך אפיים, אנו מלא עוון, ואתה מלא רחמים, אנו ימינו כצל עובר, ואתה ושנותיך לא יתאמו. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, תבוא לפניך תפילתנו, ואל תתעלם מתחינתנו, שאין אנחנו הזפנים וכשי עורף, לומר לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, צדיקים אנחנו ולא חטאנו, אבל אנחנו ואבותינו חטאנו. איי 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 איי.
Page 237.
איי 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 איי. אשמנו, מגדנו, גזלנו, דיברנו דופי, הבינו והרשענו, זדנו, חמסנו, ay, 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 sararnu avinu pasharnu sararnu ishinu orev rashanu shitchatnu tiavnu tayinu titanu ay 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 מצוותיך ומשפטיך הטובים, ולא שווה לנו ואתה צדיק על כל בעלינו, כי אמץ עשית ואנחנו הרשענו.
Continue page 237.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באונס וברצון, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפלנו, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך, ועל חטא שחטאנו, על חטא שחטאנו. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בעיניים רמות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בעזות מצח, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפלנו, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתימון לבב, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפלנו.
Continue on page 240, Hu Ya'anenu. You may be seated.
מי שענה לשרה אמנו, בזקנתה הוא יעננו. מי שענה לאברהם אבינו בהר מוריה, הוא יעננו. ומי שענה ליצחק בנם שנעקד, על גבי המזבח הוא יעננו. מי שענה לרבקה בהריונה, הוא יעננו. ומי שענה ליעקב בבית אל, הוא יעננו. Misheana Leleya Beyonya Uyaneno Misheana Verachel Beitzvona Uyanenu Mishayana leYosef beveit Asurim Uyanenu Mishayana lemeadot ha'ivriot Al ha'ovnaim Uyanenu Mishayana leYochever asfat ha'yeor Uyanenu Mishayana lavotenu ulimotenu Al yamsu Uyanenu Mishayana leMoshe umechorev Uyanenu Mishayana leMiriam Bivayra Uyanenu Mishayana leAharon be'emachta Uyanenu Mishayana lePinchas beKumo Mitoch ha'eda Uyanenu Mishayana livnot lovchad be'amdan petach ha'moed Uyanenu Mishayana lechol hatzadikim ve'hatzadikot ve'achasidim ve'achasidot ve'hatmemimim ve'hatmemimot ve'hayesharim ve'hayesharot ve'harachamim Be'arachmaniot Uyanenu Yai rai 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 na na rai 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 oi na 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 na
We continue on page 242 with Rahmana at the bottom.
Rachamana deyane leani yeanena Rachamana deyane leane anena Rachamana Deyane Lemakiche Rucha Anena Rachamana Deyane Letvire Liba Anena Rachamana Anena Rachamana Chos Rachamana Peru עזב. רחמנה ורחם עלן, השתבגלה ובזמן קריב. רחמנה דענה לעניי עננה עננה.
We continue rising if we're able as we turn to page 243 for Avinu Malkeinu.
אבינו מלכנו חטאנו לפניך, אבינו מלכנו אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, אבינו מלכנו עשה למען שמך. אבינו מלכנו החזירנו בתשובה שלמה לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו החזירנו בתשובה שלמה לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו שלח רפואה שלמה לכל עמך.
אבינו מלכנו שלח רפואה שלמה לכל עמך.
אבינו מלכנו זוכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו זוכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר גאולה
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר פרנסה
אבינו
וכלכלה.
מלכנו כותבנו בספר זכויות.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר
אבינו
זכויות.
מלכנו כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה.
אבינו מלכנו עשה למען באש ובמים. אבינו מלכנו חוננו ועננו. אבינו מלכנו חוננו ועננו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו. אבינו מלכנו חטאנו לפניך בורא מבך. אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
אבינו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר פרנסה
אבינו
וכלכלה.
מלכנו כותבנו בספר זכויות.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר זכויות.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה.
Some kind of...
It's on page 245.
אבינו מלכנו חוננו ועננו. אבינו מלכנו חוננו ועננו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו. יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברכיותי ומלכמלכותי, בחייכונו ומכונו וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו.
אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולם לעולם.
יתברך כפי וישתבח ויפעל ויתפאר ונעשה ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתלהשמר קודשה.
ברך הוא.
לעילא מכל תחתה ותשרתה ותשבחתה ונחמתה דברירם נעלמה ואימרו.
אמן.
תקבל צלותון ובטחון לכל ישראל הקדם המון ישמעי ואימרו.
אמן.
יש למה רב עמית שמיים וחיים אלינו וכל ישראל ואימרו.
אמן.
עושה שלום ממרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואימרו.
Amen. Alenu, page 246.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל לתת תהילה ולשם ראשית שלא עשנו פגעי ארצות ולא שמענו כמשפחות אדמה שלא עשנו פגעינו גרם ויגור עלינו כחלון מן ואנחנו גבוהים ושבחים ומודים לפני מלך מלא המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שאול נפש שמיים ועושה מלך. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו לראות ממנו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ויום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We're approaching the Mourner's Kaddish, page 247. If it's your custom to rise for the Mourner's Kaddish, or if you're observing Yortzeit or reciting Kaddish, please rise if you're able. Yit Rabba Be'olma divra kir'ute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael u'bagala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'le'olamei olamaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shmei Dekudsha Baruchu, Leila Leila, Mikol Birchata V'Shirata, Tush Bechata V'Nechemata, Damiran Be'olama V'Imru, Amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'Chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'Imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Al Kol Yoshevei Tevel V'Imru. Amen. And we're sending strength especially to all those who've lost loved ones in this past year. And I want to just thank everyone so much for all the different parts of the service, both the ones you saw on the bima and the ones behind the scenes. I want to welcome and thank in person finally Chazan Weiner, who is here with us. So beautiful. The services were just gorgeous. And we want to say Hardi Yasher Koach. And want to say also to Ezra and to Mark, who did the recording. Those at home might have seen it a little better, of their duet with the cello and piano. Gorgeous intro to our services, always beautiful. And also want to thank Joy for leading us in prayer, and to Mindy for her absolutely beautiful speech, and to our singers, to Sandy and Ben, and to Steve Young for all of the amazing tech work behind the scenes, and Kim and Norma and John and the whole Beth El staff. I want to thank everyone for being here and wish everyone a Shana Tova. We'll have services tomorrow again at 9 a.m. And just a reminder, as always, if you can fast, that's great, if it's medically advisable for you to do so. But make sure that you're healthy and safe first and foremost. That's always really important, so don't push yourself beyond what you can handle. And there's a custom not to wear leather on Yom Kippur, and to wear white if that's your thing. It's a tradition. And most of all, I want to wish everyone a meaningful Yom Kippur, and if you're fasting, also an easy fast. This time we'll call upon the singers. We're going to do the Psalm of the Season, which you can find on page 248.
שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, שאלתי מת אדוני, אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות ונום אדוני, ולבקר חלום. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה
Machzor on page 250 with Yigdal.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא ואין את מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון ככל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו, הינו אדון עולם ככל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו. לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמואל, על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו, לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו, צופה ויודע סתרנו, מאמין לסוף דבר מקדמתו. גומל לאיש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע רע כאישתו. ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו, לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו. מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עדי יד שם תהילתו. מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עדי יד שם תהילתו.
יישר כוח. Shana Tova, everybody.
I wanted you to announce that the Torah service starts around 9:40.
And Liz just wanted us to share that the Torah service tomorrow starts around 9:40. You'll see around the building, in case you're curious, like when Yizkor is or other parts of the service, there's service points that will be listed on a sheet that will tell you approximately, within a margin of probably give or take 10 minutes, when each part will be. So just keep an eye out for that in the hallway. And most of all, have a wonderful Yom Kippur, a meaningful one. And we look forward to seeing you, whether here on screen at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Shana Tova, Gemar Chatima Tova. Shana Tova, יישר כוחך. Beautiful.
That was great. That was fun.
Amazing. Oh my God.
שחקי שחקי על החלומות, זו אני החולם צח. שחקי באדמה מי, כי עודני מאמין בך. שחקי באדמה מי, כי עודני מאמין בך. כי עוד